So, what kind of pumping units are you guys running out here? I just want to know if there's a mix, or is it all rod pumps, or
We got
get some ESPs or PCs?
ESP, gas lift, rod pump.
pumps.
Yep.
You got much paraffin on the gas lifts?
No, most of our areas, we don't see a lot of paraffin
No.
issues, so. More, they get on this side more so.
So, instead of a PowerPoint and the whole shebang, I probably wouldn't start at the beginning. I'll bounce around. You guys are, engineers and understand what's going on. If you not,
no engineer. Just dumb oil fill in.
These are the working
so
guys.
even better actually. Even better.
I'm stupid, I just went in the oil field in 1975 and wasn't smart enough
To get out.
Me too. That's why I can't start a presentation at the beginning.
Still trying to find the way out, aren't you?
So if you hear anything that's interesting or that you want to challenge, just interrupt me, ask a question. If it leads to another one, it doesn't matter. We'll spin all over the place till we get bored.
Okay.
We brought or bringing a product to market that is probably the most disruptive piece of oil field production technology to come along in probably 30 years. It started, and now you guys are going to understand this. Do you remember Prolong super lubricants, the racing lubricant? Remember that?
Mhm.
AJ Foyt infomercial. Do you?
I don't think I remember that.
He's
one.
too
We made a oil additive that made actual oil perform better by changing the molecular or the ionic charge. So it's positive. Bonds metal, attracted to heat. You might remember we did this infomercial. We drained a Dodge Viper till it was bone dry. Did like 300 miles around the track. What happened to the engine?
It stayed running.
Nothing.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay. It just sometimes I tell that story just because it shows lineage. The founders, the inventors of that technology, got bored of selling 16-ounce bottles of auto lube in AutoZone and Pet Boys and trying to compete with Valvoline and Pennzoil and Mobil One, and realized that now there's probably a good opportunity in moving up to tote size, selling in gallons. So they took the technology and moved it into a drilling fluid. The drilling fluid had some great success. I mean, typically as much as 40,000 pounds of drag reduction, major friction reduction, torque reduction. And that's, Paige Armstrong, my colleague, has really championed that product, quite well out here. And as far as the next generation, we felt, well, production, you drill a hole once, you guys are going to work on it for years to come. So we did a lot of R&D, a lot of testing. Most of it was in Bakersfield to start, Elk Hills, everything from 3,000 foot wells to 18,000 foot wells. Anything from rod pumps, big rotoflexes, ESPs, and PCs. All different. They'll have different behavioral pattern, different behavioral improvement, and we're now ready for market. We're at Oxy, we are at Anadarko, XTO, and EOG, both ERG in California, West Texas, and we're out here. And I can tell you, every place I've been, the reception has been intriguing. I'll start to make a bunch of claims. What I'm trying to do is take the best snake oil salesman pitches that you've heard and put them all together, like in a row, and then we'll see what you can challenge, and hopefully get to a point where it sounds too good to be true, but you got to test it. Let's see it, prove it. I like to say that it's time to put his money where my mouth is, and that's really the end of the story. So what we do is we have a water-soluble, totally 100% biodegradable lubricant that bonds to metal surfaces. When applied right, in a two-stage process, an initial dose, initial treatment, and then a following maintenance, we get a complete and radial coverage of rod and tubing. So I've seen friction, there's no way to really gauge it, but I've seen friction reduced repeatedly in rod situations where it increases the production speed from anywhere close to the bare minimum to max. This week, we did a test on 4. They went from around 5-6 strokes a minute to 10, reshipped it, now they're pumping off 6 hours faster, and they're burning about 40% less energy consumption.
They went up to 10 strokes?
Yeah. So, and then another one over at Oxy, which is a little more credible, and I'll show you some stuff as I kind of tap things. I was really on this PC hunt. Like, I just felt like that was the holy grail for me because I could see the instant gratification in a solution, which is, I noticed that there was a lot of these pumps that their speeds were inhibited by 1 or 2 of 2 factors: surface drive torque, amperage. You know, I got eyeballs on, 30, 40 of these that were running 9 to 1100 foot-pounds of torque at surface and, 47 to 55 amps on a 60 amp pump. Does that sound kind of familiar? Okay, so I dosed it and I dropped 300 to 400 foot-pounds of torque immediately before your eyes, and anywhere between 7 and 15 amps. And the operators, while I was testing, loved to play with my controls and ramp up 125 RPM to like 225 and just say, look at that. We've almost increased the speed 80%, and the amperage or the torque had not yet even come close to returning to what their starting points were. So I went to Oxy, because out there in Elk Hills, they're running a lot of these. And they had amazing results.
Don't they worry about rod buckling though? At that speed?
No. I mean,
You don't
it
get your
depends on
pump.
the size. It depends on the size of the.
Wait, what did you say?
You don't get your pump efficiency pumping on at 10 stroke a minute.
You're gonna lose
Well,
pump efficiency and.
Okay, I lost you. That was two pumps ago. These were some older, pump jacks, and then they obviously pulled it down, changed the shifts, slowed it back down. But there's a lot of benefits in energy consumption, efficiency. So that was like a
All it
different
does is
one.
it reduces friction, if I'm understanding you
That's
correctly.
one of many things it does. In a rod pump situation, it does reduce friction, but it also reduces load. In one test that I'll show you, I reduced rod load from 51,000 pounds to 40,000 pounds.
You're telling me it lightens up the fluid? In order
No.
to reduce load?
I think it
In order to reduce load, you have to reduce friction that's tying you up.
okay. I thought you were not
So
supposed
you
to
do
be
the
smart
same
guy,
thing with surfactant?
right?
Did you hear what he
The
said?
Columbo
You're not
routine.
supposed to, he didn't know he was gonna meet the smart guy.
I ain't smart at all.
So this was starting. This is after we treated it, and this stays going on for 30
Yeah,
days.
you do the same thing with surfactant when you first treat them. You'll reduce it too, you'll reduce your weight and everything and your pull, so.
They think that is.
Lighten up your fluid.
Yeah. I can see what you're doing, I mean, that's,
Well, how about this? Here for about 8 weeks before we started, they were at 30 to 60 barrels a day. And these guys said for sure they were going to shut this well in. They felt that their production volumes were inhibited by friction and drag, slow speed. When we started treating this thing, we went from 30 to 60 barrels a day to 170 to 200 barrels a day for a month.
so if we do
And I don't think a
this,
surfactant's
so if we
going to.
run this chemical and it doesn't produce our wells by 50%, we don't have to pay for it then. Is that
Well,
right?
I think if we remember the way I phrased that one is if your pump speed is inhibited by severe friction and deviated wells, and that's keeping you from optimal production speeds, then absolutely, because that's not a unicorn. I've done this over and over and over. But again, the key word there is this isn't for every well. As much as we'd love you to do it,
Oh, I know.
it's a situational, but it's not a 911 either. This is not a 911 product. This is
So
a collection of wells to start.
this is treated through pumping down the casing with your product? You mix it with water, or you just pump it down the casing, or how do you run it?
What Dave's company does, they're the exclusive service provider and distributor. They'll come out and pump it down the backside in about 5 to 7 minutes, 35 gallons.
So you just pump it down neat then?
Yeah.
No
It's fast
chemical,
process.
just pump it down.
Right. I use the word chemical really lightly because it's a 110 product. It's zero reactivity. It's 100% biodegradable. We did that LC50, you know, that fish test where you don't kill a bunch of fish. We killed no fish in at the approved 30,000 parts per million. We ramped it up to 300,000 parts per million. Still lost no fish. I got a permit. I know you guys aren't the greenest state in the United States, but just for your own peace of mind, if you care, you even got a permit from the EPA to dump this in California offshore waters. I mean, they get upset if you drop more than a couple of Coca-Colas out there. I mean, it's really that's a bold statement as far as the safety. It's benign. It's chloride free. It's solvent free. You know, at the end of the day, our product is more about technology and less about ingredient. So let me show you a couple other things.
How do you-
Go ahead.
So like if you're just pumping it down neat and it's 35 gallons, how are you getting that to mix up? And so you're just hoping to slug the pump?
It depends on what application and what kind of pressures that we're looking at. I mean, well, a lot of our service providers are, instead of using a roper or a vac truck, they're using a
Hot oil truck.
sometimes.
What'd you say?
But
Hot oil truck?
more pressure. But we have a car wash pump that hits about 1100 psi. So we have a tote in the back of flatbeds, 4 totes in the back of a flatbed, and they'll pull up and hammer it down in just a few minutes. Now, as you start to scale up, hopefully, he's on the lease less often, and we're just filling up containment totes.
So how often are you doing these treats?
Daily.
Daily treats?
Absolutely. And
So wouldn't it be better just if you're gonna do them daily, why not just set an injection
Injection point.
pump at the site?
like at what, like, for example, at what rate?
Well, if you're doing, I mean.
You wanna
so
pump
you
35
need
gallons a
to-
day?
I want to pump 35 gallons to 40 gallons in 4 to 5 minutes.
Oh.
So it's very different in application than virtually every other chemical treatment they've used, which you
You can't, you don't wanna mix it then with fresh water or nothing? 'Cause
are you thinking about injection?
Well, we run continuous freshwater injection
Uh-huh.
on most of our wells on this side, so it probably won't be.
Yeah, but from a central tank, and it's going to get such a dilution rate. Like you're not talking.
But even when, so we'd have to shut our pumps down.
Yeah.
And then inject this and then turn our system back on, or?
Yeah, what I'm saying is if you're going to use like a central tank that feeds.
Well,
a
what I'm
whole
saying
pad.
is we're already continuous injecting freshwater, so if we're pumping 60 barrels, say, a day.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't be, if you pump this in, you'd be mixing with water anyways then.
I don't mind that. To be honest with you, we are about 9 parts water. So I would be curious to see what the final application or the introduction method is. If there's a way to control the water cut. There's a way to control the water cut and disperse the application to 1 or more wells. In the confines of our prescribed water cut, I would be absolutely interested in seeing if we could use, that. What we do is, when you go from the truck, the daily service guy, the milk route, right, the fuel model, the fuel delivery model, he's got, drivers that'll come and say you've got 10 wells that are on, subscription, bang, 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 bang. And when you grow the critical mass a bit, we'll just fill up containment tanks. It will be direct injection. But again, we use a different kind of pump. I wish I had the name. I could definitely email it to you to show you our setup. But that timer will come on, once a day, and it'll pound 30 to 50 gallons, down in 5-6 minutes, just like that. So same idea. At some level, if this program really takes off, one of the things that we can do is just apply to the product. You can take over the application, whether you're using lease trucks or. But that's a high quality problem. I mean,
That's what he's trying to get at. we have to pump fresh water down every day or we're salting off, no
Right.
matter what